Who the hell is that?
That's an ostrich.
Oh, no.
Yes, indeed.
One of the great things about making a movie called Jumanji, The Next Level, is taking everything to the next level. So we definitely had to up the action sequences.
What a magnificent creature.
We should get out of here.
The ostriches in the dunes was one of our first ideas about action for this movie. We got a very early jump on starting to design and previs those sequences before there was even a script.
There's one more thing about ostriches.
Oh, no.
They travel in herds.
There was so many facets that had to come together to make it work.
We gotta get out of here!
We are in the desert dunes. The scope and the scale, it's epic.
Great stuff.
We brought in Wade Eastwood to oversee the second unit photography because we knew we wanted this sequence to be massive and exciting and frightening. Like, you had to feel the danger and you had to feel the speed of the whole thing.
In this Jumanji world, we have to rely on elements of CG, obviously, but I try and bring as much practical action as I can to this.
Some of the biggest sand dunes in America are a little bit east of San Diego, along the border. Hundreds of miles of sand dunes. We all went out there and we got a little lesson in dune buggying, and we just built a whole little dune buggy park out there. And they just went to town.
3, 2, 1, action!
To have those dunes on your doorstep in California, they get overlooked a lot. I mean, it's incredible. The sort of land just ends. It just becomes a sea of sand dunes.
That sequence has a tremendous amount of real stuff in it. They're real people, they're really in the desert, they're really racing those cars around, and I think that it has that kind of visceral reality to it that you can only get by actually going out there and racing cars around. It just feels true.
Just because of the schedule, we had to shoot main unit in Hawaii. So we shipped over these dune buggies, we shipped over these great rigs that move them around, and then we shot them in front of blue screen. And so when you watch the sequence, you have to realize that going between second unit footage of them driving in a dune buggy to suddenly them in the dune buggy driving and moving around and talking, that's in a blue screen set in Hawaii.
Birds, 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 birds!
Another interesting thing about the ostrich.
Get out of here!
I'm not a fan of ostriches at all, and I love all animals.
I said scram, you stupid bird!
When threatened, they attack.
Oh!
Oh!
Growing up in South Africa, we were one of them. It scared me half to death, so it was like, as long as we didn't have to have any real ones, I was fine doing that sequence.
When we started prep, we found some people in Georgia that had ostriches, and we went and visited them. You realize very quickly, you don't hang out with ostriches.
There's this long process of figuring out how it works with the ostriches and how to incorporate that and make it feel like they're really there and build them into the sequence.
Real-world ostriches can run about 40 miles per hour. Our ostriches are going to probably break at 50, 55, just to catch up with the buggies and make it exciting and dynamic.
These are Jumanji ostriches, so they can always be that little bit quicker and more special, leap that little bit further.
What we're asking of our digital animals in this movie is much more demanding. That work is really challenging, and there are so many people working on it to make it convincing.
The animation director will start formulating that into some tests. And so they'll start building in the computer volumes around the skeleton. And then they tack on the muscles that move an ostrich around. And then they sort of wrap skin around that. That is what makes animals look real. That's one of the key things that you need when you're putting an animal together.
Beat it! What do we do? What do we do?
I have the very fortunate position of being able to make outrageous requests that then a team of geniuses all over the world has to figure out how to actually execute. And on this movie, we had an absolutely staggeringly great group of people working on animals.
Ah, suckers!
Wade is shooting the driving sequences. Some of this stuff is obviously being built in a computer because it doesn't exist. And then there's this other part of it that is super critical that has to happen at the same time, which is Jake telling an exciting story. And it's this incredible balancing act. And it all comes from Jake's brain. So I just stand back and say thank you sometimes.
We're not gonna make it. We're gonna make it.